Welcome back to the Zeitcast, where we explore intersections of theology and culture, spirituality and culture. My name is Jonathan Martin, and it's a big day, y'all. It's a beautiful day. For those of you that do not know my history with U2, I'll put it like this. When the band put out the album that Beautiful Day's off of, All You Can't Leave Behind in the year 2000, we had a cake made, an actual cake. Think about that, a cake that actually said U2, All You Can't Leave Behind for release day, which then at midnight, I was down at the Best Buy in Gastonia, North Carolina to get that album. I'm saying this to say, friends, a new U2 album is an event, and this is the closest thing we've had to a new U2 album in a long time. Closest thing we're going to get, apparently, for quite a while, as today, the album that U2 released 4 years after All That You Can't Leave Behind in 2004, called How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. I think I was in Atlanta when that came out. Certainly got it. Also, I think that was the last time I was able to pick up a physical CD at the store. But for that album, they are revisiting it 20 years later, and with it releasing a shadow album called How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb, where they take various experiments that started with the album. Really exciting to me because they didn't just sort of dust off these tracks. They actually re-recorded a number. I know Bono re-recorded some vocals, did some guitar parts. So yeah, it's pretty close to a full U2 album. Maybe not even an attempt at the kind of sonic cohesion that they go for a proper release. But this is more, I'll say that. This is definitely more than just sort of a constellation of B-sides. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. In the spirit of the other U2 album releases, of course, last night, right at midnight, it was up streaming, and you better believe I was listening. But now I'm recording this at 8 o'clock the next morning. So this is a first take. I don't know if it's a hot take. It is a first take. Am I up for the task? Lord, I am ready. Born for this. First reaction, early reaction to U2's How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb. So I'm just going to run through and we'll go track by track here. So the Shadow album, and I'm sure the remasters of the original How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb sounds great, but obviously I'm focusing more on the new music right now. So we'll just go for a quick track by track breakdown. So the first track, Picture of You, X and W. So they released 3 of these songs as singles before the album. So this is one of the ones we had already heard. And I got to tell you, I was sleeping on Picture of You just a little bit because when the band released How Dismantle an Atomic Bomb at the time in 2004, with it, they released a B-side called Fast Cars. And Picture of You has just enough of Fast Cars in it to where my first response to it, kind of first blush, was, yeah, this is cool, but I've heard it before in Fast Cars. And I got to tell you, the more I've listened to Picture of You, it's really grown on me. It's crunchier, y'all. That's what I'll say. It's crunchier than Fast Cars, and I really like Fast Cars. Definitely think it's the definitive version of that song. Well, I'm going to say something like this a couple times here. I mean, I know I'm trying not to be too effusive. There are not only some good U2 tracks here, there are some that are really in great territory. And I do think Picture of You as a final track is enough of a leap from Fast Cars. It's one of several where it's like, kind of surprised that it's not what made the album or an album soon after. Really good, really crunchy. Picture of You, I like it a lot. Second track, Evidence of Life, which is the first moment listening to these where there's a bit of a sonic surprise. That bass intro was not something I was looking for. Very, very cool. Adam Clayton groove on the intro, and it is an edge vocal. Bono comes in a little bit later for kind of like a bridge later, but it's mostly an edge vocal. Edge, of course, has such a lovely falsetto. Doesn't often sing lead. I guess the first time Edge did lead on a vocal would be on Van Diemen's Land, a quite forgettable track off a really great and even underrated U2 album in Rattle and Hum. But it's cool. It's cool. I like it a lot. I like the vibe. Maybe the most robust attempt ever at Edge doing a full vocal on a studio U2 song. I like it. I like it. First few times through, I'm feeling it. Evidence of Life, and I'll put it like this, with no shade to the band whom I love, because I, of course, am an apologist for all things U2. But I think it is fair to say that they have spent a minute now looking to make another really great album, especially probably since How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Um, No Line on the Horizon really has some great moments. Songs of Innocence has some great moments. Songs of Experience, great moments. I don't think any of these quite reached the heights yet of first half U2. But I will say part of what's happened in this phase of the band's career is that, for some of us who are deep cut kind of fans, a little disappointing is you don't have quite the level of experimentation that U2 was doing, like with Pop and with Zeropa. I love that U2. I love the adventurous U2. It's kind of, well, they still haven't found what they're looking for. Always still trying to find new textures, new sounds. I miss that U2 sometimes. And Evidence of Life was the first moment where I was like, I'm a little surprised, and I'm happy to be surprised by any U2 track now. Okay, so the third track is not exactly a surprise. This is a long time coming. I don't know if everybody will be interested in this saga, but bear with me. So, Luckiest Man in the World, in its earliest form, was a track called Mercy that got leaked. I can't remember how that got leaked, and I don't remember exactly when that was. I don't think it was before the release of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. It was sometime after. I do know that not only did it catch on online, it became like, it's like the holy grail of YouTube B-sides and unreleased tracks. I mean, and it's not close. It is far and away the best thing we've ever heard from them to never get an official release. And I think part of why Mercy was uniquely exciting for a lot of us is because U2 does have a restless side, and now this almost seems funny because they're doing a lot of retrospective stuff now. I mean, the decision to do in 2017 a 2017 version of the Joshua Tree tour to fully revisit that album, the decision to go to the Sphere and play Octung Baby from start to finish, which those shows were magical. Got to go to a couple of them. But now they're looking back a bit more. Still, whenever they put out new music, there's always this sense of not wanting to kind of retread the same ground sonically. So part of the oddness of that, which you got to appreciate, that like they're still kind of chasing the thing. Whether or not they always land there, I appreciate they're still kind of on the search. But there's a weird reluctance to not go full U2. You know what I'm saying? I mean, U2 does have a sound that everybody builds, of course, kind of rides on the shoulders of the people that came before them. But U2 does have a sound that they've patented, and it's a sound that's been channeled everywhere, certainly in churches, certainly in worship music, in all kinds of ways. But it's like there's a weird reluctance to go full U2, to do the U2 thing at its most U2-y. I mean, so when All That You Can't Leave Behind came out, that was part of the revelation that Beautiful Day was, the opening track, is it was U2 kind of coming full circle. This is our sound. We're going to recapture it. We're going to own it. But outside of moments, even on an album like All You Can't Leave Behind, I would contend Beautiful Day is a really classic U2 track in that way. But I don't think the whole album really... it was kind of a a little bit more of a back to basics rock and roll album, but it wasn't quite all. There's still a reluctance to kind of full throttle do the whole thing like they do on Beautiful Day. And so part of where Mercy felt like such a revelation is just U2 at their most unabashedly U2, soaring vocals, Edge being fully Edge, something that felt like it could belong more like on the Joshua Tree, just that kind of anthemic balls to the wall. It's the kind of, I don't know, just soaring. It's the soaring anthem that you're looking for. And so we loved it. And U2 apparently likes it a lot because they actually debuted it on the road during the U2 360 tour. I think they only played it once in Brussels. I'm trying to think it was once or twice. And they only played it once. So between the leaked version of the studio track and the one live version, it's a song that's been in circulation for years. So a lot of hype, a lot of build up. And I got to tell you, Luckiest Man in the World, because they had released like a minute snippet of it before, I know some in the fan community were carping about it like just a little bit, because Mercy does feel like sort of it's such a gem on its own in its unreleased form. Luckiest Man in the World not only has a little bit of a different lyric, but Bono re-records lyrics. So you've got what appears to be the version of the lyric as he recorded it back in 2004. And then in 2024 comes in and records a new vocal that's like lower. And so you've got the juxtaposition of the low and the high, kind of a vintage U2 thing to do. I will admit that I'm not sure that the added vocal, like the lower vocal, I know Bono, as he's getting older, seems to really not like the high version of himself and wants to be able to bring it down. I don't know if I think it enhances it. And I get that Mercy was so good on its own. I understand fans like not wanting it to be tinkered with. That said, y'all, Luckiest Man in the World is a banger. And that's a lot of time and attention on one song, but I also know it's going to get a lot of time and attention in my car in the next year and hopefully years to come, where I will play it thousands of times, because I do think this is one of the truly great U2 tracks in the 21st century. It reminds you of everything that you love about the band. There's snow on the ground in Greencastle yesterday, so it might not be a time to kind of like take the top down. When I can take the top down and play this on full volume, I will be very happy about it. Gosh, just what a magical track that reminds you of the kind of magic that U2 makes. Really a vintage great Bono lyric, by the way. The lyric has gone through a number of incarnations. That's part of what's fun about being able to track the evolution of Mercy, because the lyrics that were in the leaked studio track and the lyrics from when they played it live in 2010 and the final lyrics now are different, but it's really great, like vintage Bono lyric. And yeah, if you're wanting to fall in love with U2 again, or fall in love with U2 for the first time, or be evangelistic about the new songs, this is the one you send to your friend, because yeah, Luckiest Man in the World. I need this song live in my life. Only played again a version of it once before, and I can't wait for when they tour, because surely this is going to be so many U2 songs then get really defined. The definitive version tends to be the live version, and I know Luckiest Man in the World is going to be that way. Man, just a feast on that one. I'm thrilled. Treason. Oh, all right. Okay, so I got to say it one more time. Love U2, and one of the things I love about U2 historically is them not playing it safe. After the Joshua Tree, Octung Baby, Bono famously said it's the sound of four men chopping down the Joshua Tree. Pop, goodness, the 97 Pop, definitely one of my all-time favorite U2 albums. But I miss that experimental U2, and Treason is the one, much more so than Evidence of Life. I got about 30 seconds in, I'm like, what is this? What's happening right now? So Dave Stewart from Eurythmics produced this track. Apparently Dr. Dre did some work on it as well, although I don't think the Dr. Dre treatment, he might have done like a loop or something here, but I think he might have done a vocal thing that is not in the final track. At any rate, Treason, this is what I've wanted U2 again to do for so long, is a sense of like real experimentation. It's dark, it's vibey, it's funky. I don't know exactly what the best parallel is to it. I think maybe what might be closest is would actually be something more like Mysterious Ways, because it's very it kind of leads with a groove. You know, U2 famously this sort of the boys can't dance, they play rock and roll. This is that kind of sexier, groovier U2 that I'm really here for it. Yeah, I think Mysterious Ways would be a pretty good parallel. But I also think it doesn't sound exactly like anything else that they've done. And, it's just not all the time in more recent albums that I have moments where I'm able to say this, that it doesn't sound like anything they've done before. So Treason, really, really a treat in that way. I decidedly have missed that U2. And this is where, again, really like Picture of You, really like Evidence Life, Luckiest Man in the World, and Treason, I think are songs where not only do I feel like they belong on a U2 album, but they could have belonged on any of the great U2 albums. And this is really not throwaway B-side material. Really, really exciting stuff here. I Don't Want to See You Smile is a track so far I am loving. It's simple. There's a thing that U2 will do sometimes where it's like they kind of find a sonic texture or a groove that's atmospheric and vibey, and they just ride it for a whole track without a ton of variation. This is one of those, and it's done very, very well. I mean, so again, not only do we have a couple songs that I think would be on, would have been in place on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, but could have been a lot of U2 records. This is another one. I mean, I would say I Don't Want to See You Smile. I like about as well as anything on the second half of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb in its final form. I mean, it's really good. Maybe puts me in mind a little bit of what they were doing on a track like Cedars of Lebanon on No Line on the Horizon, but also a little bit more of that unashamedly, unabashedly embracing the U2 thing, the thing that makes U2 U2. And I'm here for the experimentation of a track like Treason, but I'm also definitely here for U2 being themselves in a way that we get with I don't Want to See You Smile. Country Mile. So the next couple tracks, Country Mile and Happiness, both songs that they released as singles prior to the full Shadow album coming out. And here again, I mean, I feel like I'm gushing a little. Country Mile. I mean, this is a really, really good track. That's close to being a great track. The worst thing you could say about it is, which is what makes tracks like this interesting, right? That have been tinkered with over time. I'm not sure if the lyric feels quite finished to me. But that said, sonically, like it's good. It's good. Borderline magic. It's a really, really great melody. I would say this, and by the way, this is not damning with faint praise. Edge's vocal, which is more kind of a backing vocal, but Edge's vocal on Country Mile might be like my favorite Edge vocal on a U2 song. Like it's that good, that really, really gorgeous warm falsetto that he has that's refined and only feels like it's getting stronger over time. It's a great Edge vocal. And I will say again, what a melody. Country Mile is a little hypnotic to me. Again, maybe doesn't quite have the feel of a fully formed, fully finished lyric, but again, brushing into greatness territory. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm saying about half of these tracks, I think so far would have been really, really good on any full U2 album. Happiness is a track also I'd heard before. I really, really dig. I think, the most revelatory thing about that, I know Edge said in an interview recently that the thing that he likes most about the song Happiness is how not U2 it sounds. And I agree. U2, it's funny because, for so many years, the band kept threatening to make a great guitar record. That was certainly Bono's rhetoric. And Bono is quite the hype man for U2 projects. When they were recording How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, so like, it's punk rock from Venus. The Edge has been a mad scientist. It's all but the threat was always they were going to make this really big guitar record. It's very cool that the Shadow album is much more that record than what we actually got with How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb is really good. Definitely was not like a balls to the wall guitar record. I feel like for the first time, because that's a rhetorical device Bono has used a few times since, that this was just sort of, I don't know, like kind of a mythic thing that he was hiding. Was like, oh no, there's a real guitar record there. an attempt for U2 in the 21st century to really go for it. Yeah, I get it. It's here, and happiness is absolutely that. There was probably a day on a road trip where I think I played happiness on repeat for like 20 times or something. I mean, it's really good. It's really good. So the last couple of tracks are where tracks that are worth hearing, but only because the first like 2/3 are so good and kind of honestly shockingly good. Like I think even with my highest expectations, I was still expecting a much looser collection of B-sides. It is a little loose, again, for something like this, the Shadow album, I get it. There's not the attempt to do something as tight as, Octung Baby or something. But up until this point, it kind of reaches transcendence more than once. And the last few tracks I do feel like trail off just a little bit. Worth hearing, but I still think my overall reaction would be something more like, cool. Are You Gonna Wait Forever is a song that we've heard before. They released this kind of a deep cut when they put out an extended version of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Maybe that was when the U2 iPod came out. Now to think about it. At any rate, it's a much more polished version of this song. There's a thing that they do on the chorus that I dig. It's definitely, I mean, Are You Gonna Wait Forever is one of those songs in its earliest form I played once or twice and probably never listened to again. Whereas this is one I can't imagine re-listening to. So I definitely think it's further along, if not exactly a revelation. Theme from the Batman is a whole Edge joint. I mean, essentially like a kind of whole Edge guitar thing. I'm thinking this is maybe for Deep Cut fans, maybe something like Alex Descends into Hell for a Bottle of Milk was a B-side experiment from Octung Baby. So something kind of in that spirit where you hear it and you say, cool, fun little slice of life from a moment in the mind of the mad scientist that is the Edge, all because of U2. So I will say this, I definitely think now that I've played it through a couple times, I do think All Because of You is a pretty superior version of this track. All Because of You is a track off of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. All Because of You 2, I do think is better. Maybe one of the through lines, while we do have, some real experimentation, a return to that kind of adventurous searching U2 with a track like Treason, or Happiness is a song that's cool because it doesn't sound too much like U2. It does feel like branching out. I do love that one of the through lines is U2 kind of embracing being themselves here. And you've just got, it's an adjective in and of itself, some very U2-y songs. And All Because of U2, they do a thing on the chorus that, because I think at the time of 2004, trying not to sound too much like themselves still, I can see why they didn't do it on that album. But as a fan, I really, really dig it. It's just that, I don't know how to put it. It's that full chiming guitar thing, that kind of transcendent reach for the stars U2 sound. It's cool. It is for me. I could even imagine it being considered the definitive version of that song. That said, again, the last three tracks start to trail off just a little bit from what goes before, but man, what goes before is great. This came out at midnight last night, and since I'm recording it before 9 a.m., we'll see how it holds up. But I don't think I'm being too effusive and in the moment. I think this is going to be an album that I'm going to replay and revisit a lot. And what else can I say except it definitely is it's much closer to final form. It's much closer to being a real album than I think any of us could have anticipated. Clearly put some real care and attention. And I just got to say, I know I don't have sway with anyone in the camp. I'll say I will be happy if U2 continues to do this. Famously, they're such perfectionists, which is why they don't release albums more regularly. Historically, go about 4 or 5 years in between them. Unfortunately, now we've gone the longest that we ever have without a U2 album. It's been 7 years now. And with Larry Mullen Jr., the drummer, having some health issues, obviously this has been part of the issue. I know they're back in the studio. It was supposed to be back recording, I think late November, early December. Still feels like, though, we're probably a long way off because the kind of perfectionists they are. I mean, I remember hearing U2 say more than once, Bono and Edge have referenced 50 or 60 songs that they've completed in the last few years. So I'm just saying I'll be more than happy if they continue to revisit old albums and take some material that's kind of been kept away in the fridge and bring it back out and mess around, experiment. I'm here for it. Let me know what you think. I'm dying to know what you think of the Shadow album. I want to know what you think about how to reassemble an atomic bomb. So hit me up. Let me know what tracks you're feeling, what you're not feeling, what's working for you. I really want to know. I will move much faster for my other 4 things for Friday because, of course, not anything else is going to get need the level of deep dive that I need in talking about new U2 music. So, pop culture wise, there's clearly a lot happening in the world. I think a lot of us have had our heads and hearts around that. My life is also very full on right now in all kinds of ways. So a lot less time than usual for any kind of pop culture. But I did catch up on the new season of Cobra Kai, the final season of Cobra Kai. If you've not been following that, a continuation of the Karate Kid story. Karate Kid, the first one, and Karate Kid 2, I would contend, are actually great movies in a mid 1980s kind of way. Who Among Us doesn't hear Peter Cetera's, what's the track off of Karate Kid Part 2? Why am I not able to think of the name of the song? Anyway, I love that feeling. I love that moment. And I have to say, in general, the whole idea of Cobra Kai has been, it's mostly work for me. It's silly. It's ridiculous. There aren't many things that I think of as kind of guilty pleasures, but there is some junk TV that I indulge. Lincoln Lawyer falls into that category for me. Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. I feel like it's kind of junk culture, but it's well-made junk. It's entertaining trash. Cobra Kai has kind of been that because it gets silly, but I also think on the whole, it's been a pretty successful experiment in that tonally, it's very different from what the Karate Kid movies were. And I think it's very rare that you're able to take an existing franchise and sort of reconfigure it, approach it from a different direction, but bring in stars from the first couple movies. And so you've got the nostalgia and you've got some of the sentimentality, but then also do something kind of new and fun in building these bridges to another generation. Even though it's been tough to suspend my disbelief at times, I have mostly had a really good time with this show. I got to tell you, so with them putting out the final half of the 6th and final season, this is where it fully jumps the shark. I hate to say it fully jumps the shark. I mean, it's bad. It's not like well-made trash. It's kind of just trash. It's as if the idea was, let's take every idea that did not work from the previous seasons and or didn't work as well, and let's kind of replay those all at once. Oh, it's almost unwatchable. More than once, I just about pulled the plug. I might still have 20 minutes left to go in the very last episode. It's bad. So if you're not already really on this train and not a completist where you have to finish anything that you start, major thumbs down on the new season of Cobra Kai. I am sad to say, because it's been fun. It's had some good moments. Otherwise, by way of like pop culture roundup, I kind of saying that broadly because these are really brief drive-bys. What we do in the shadows is probably might be, if you didn't see the film, in 2014, Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords does What We Do in the Shadows, which is sort of a horror mockumentary in the kind of Office kind of documentary style. It's great. It's a great film. The show is even better every note. I mean, I think What We Do in the Shadows is so funny. I think there's a case, if it could at least be on my short list of funniest shows of all time. Might even be like top 3. I mean, it's really, really funny. It just keeps getting better. Really, I think every season has been better than the one before. It's aged well. This is the final season of that show, the sixth and final season. It's hilarious. And if you're needing a break from all of the heavy in your lives right now, if you need something silly and fun, I rarely go more than around 60, 90 seconds without laughing out loud, even when I'm watching it alone in a room. It's like that kind of funny. But What We Do in the Shadows, like, is really, really good. Otherwise, I'm always listening to things. I'm always checking out other podcasts. The Bulwark podcast with Tim Miller and Bill Kristol, a number of those former GOP guys who now are never Trumpers. That's a podcast I really enjoy. And I got to say, I especially enjoyed the episode that Tim did with Sam Harris yesterday. Some of you may know Sam Harris, who famously an atheist in the pack of sort of the four horsemen of kind of new atheism. I can't conceal, I think Sam Harris is a really terrible thinker who's intermittently insightful, but he's also just kind of a douche. I don't think I've called anybody a douche in the podcast. Sam Harris is definitely a douche. He's just insufferable. And while occasionally I feel like he'll stumble into something good, it's strange the way that Sam Harris, as much as he hates fundamentalism and rails against fundamentalism, can't make any point about anything without going full fundamentalist. The irony of that is that he's always talking about nuance and how everybody else is playing a zero-sum game, and that's kind of all that he ever does. So it's a really conspicuous thing. Like, no one has ever been more of a fundamentalist about being an atheist. So I find him insufferable. I think he says a handful of things to the podcast that were helpful, but more what I loved about it actually is that it's a really great interview with Tim Miller. Tim Miller has a lot of friendly folks on the podcast that, understandably, that more kind of align with his worldview. And I just really liked it with Sam Harris. I feel like he was respectful, but also pushed him, like bodied him up pretty hard over the course of an hour plus conversation. So that kind of dance on its whole, I think is really worth listening to as someone who doesn't have a ton of appreciation for Sam Harris. Definitely the most enjoyable I've ever heard a conversation with Sam Harris, because he gets pushed, and it's cool to see Tim kind of step into, I don't know, more of a real journalistic thing in that moment. So yeah, those are my fast pop culture recommendations for the week. Last but not least, on Four Things for Friday, I want to talk for just a second about the Book of Waiting. This is the hardcover. So Advent starts here, in about 8-9 days, on December 1st. This is a little book that I wrote last year in a kind of fury. Gaza was definitely, well, not just in the background, but the foreground of this. Sister Margaret Gaines was definitely in my head and in my heart, kind of imagining how she would be metabolizing a moment like that. And so it became this furious little book. I'm never great at plugging my own stuff, but how would I talk about it? I will say this much. While it is a slim book, I arguably I might like it better start to finish than anything that I've written. I think the fact that it does come out of a kind of fury and a kind of rage and longing of my own. I think a year later, I'm able to appreciate the fact that it comes out of a place of raw emotion, but I also think weirdly, is a very vulnerable book too, that it's a really tender book in all kinds of ways. And because I put it out in such a storm, I've never self-published anything. And truly the only reason I did not go through a traditional publisher is it felt like I had fire in my bones and I just had to get it out. Like, I've got to do something with this content. So hilariously, that came out 8 days into Advent last year and felt like it never got a proper release. So I am really hoping to do that this year, and I'll be telling you the next couple of days. I'm going to do a couple of events around the Book of Waiting. Definitely going to be doing one in Greencastle, so would love for some of you to come hang out with me here. Details on that very soon. Spoiler alert, I think I'm also going to be doing something back in Oklahoma City around the book as well. If anybody else wants to have me out, I'm still open to adding a few things. But yeah, I think it is it's special for me. I hope it will be special for you in some way. it's hard to find Advent resources and liturgical resources around the holy days that I really love. I've not found a lot of Advent products. I was just wild about, not found a lot of Lent things I'm wild about. So it's part of that thing, where you kind of create the art that you want to see in the world. But yeah, I think I think there's a universality to it, to where whether or not you're a person who historically practices Advent or whatever your practices are around Christmas, and that's maybe important to say. The subtitle is Reflections on Advent and Christmas. It is kind of simultaneously an Advent and a Christmas book. And I don't know. I do think I'd like to think this could make a great gift for some folks in your life. So please feel free to go over to Amazon.com and grab the hardback of the Book of Waiting. There is an audiobook that's available. That's through my website at jonathanmartinwords.com. And yeah, hope this will be a gift to help you step fully into this season of waiting and longing. It's kind of the premise of this book, really. Is there ever a time in our lives where we're not waiting at the DMV, waiting at a checkout line, waiting for a relationship to fall out of the sky or somehow magically resolve and work itself out, waiting for something new to happen, waiting for something terrible to end? We're always waiting. And what I love about Advent is it gives us an opportunity to make that waiting meaningful. Advent, I think, says to us that no waiting is wasted. And we're all waiting, aren't we? We're all longing. And I can't even begin to imagine for you how many storylines, both in the world and your own life, feel unresolved, where there probably is a sense of, I'm still waiting, still waiting for clarity, still waiting for direction, still waiting for any and all kinds of resolve. So I hope that this book will be a helpful companion in your waiting, and that maybe we can wait together. We're going to do that on the Zeitcast for sure. Is we're going to take some time and space to wait together. There's a line in the book that I'm still really feeling. We sing at Christmas time, oh, come, let us adore him. And there's a line in the book, oh, come, let us wait for him. And that's the invitation that this book offers, that I would want to offer to you right now is, oh, come, let's us wait for him. Let's wait for him together. Let's lean into this time of waiting. And instead of trying to push the longing down, let's give it room. Let's give it some oxygen. Hope you will enter into the season of waiting with me. And I hope you will pick up a copy of the Book of Waiting for you and maybe some friends. That's all I got for 4 things for Friday. 4 things, with one of these things getting a whole lot more airspace than the others. Let me know what you think of U2, How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm about to record some other conversations, even here later today, I'm excited about for next week. So we'll see you back real soon on the Zeitcast. Please take good care of yourselves. As Bono says, take good care of yourselves and take care of each other. That seems like the right note to end on.